What's up guys, this is Real Talk NBA. I haven't made a video in a while, but I'm finally back. The last couple videos I made were ranking my top 10 players by position, so now it's finally time for my top 10 centers list. This is using the same criteria as all the other lists, so it's based on how the players played in this last season, and in order to qualify they must have played at least half the games, which didn't affect anybody for this list. Now before we get this video started, as always, if you like this video, leave a like. If you like this kind of content, consider subscribing. Let's get right into it. Starting off with some honorable mentions. First, we got Miles Turner, who led the league in blocks this season. And we have Andre Drummond, who's a great rebounder, but definitely not as good as he used to be. Now to get into the real list. Starting off at number 10, I have DeAndre Ayton of the Phoenix Suns. Ayton this season averaged 14.5 points a game and 10.5 rebounds on 58% from the field. His numbers aren't necessarily great, but do keep in mind he was playing on a team that made the finals, and so his numbers were not at all inflated in any way. I don't think he's at his best yet, as he's still very young, and I'm excited to see what's left in store for him, but for now, he only gets a 10th spot on this list. At number 9, I have Jonas Valancis. Valancis this year played better than he ever has in his career, averaging 17 points per game, 12.5 rebounds, on 59% from the field. While the Grizzlies weren't necessarily amazing, they were still a competitive, solid team, and he was one of the key factors of that. He's a great rebounder and great scorer inside, and he gets a 9th spot on this list. Now number 8, I have Kristaps Porzingis. Definitely not as good as he once was, but still solid. When he's great, he's amazing, but the main issue with him is that he's inconsistent. On the season, he averaged 20 points per game and 9 rebounds per game, with 37% from 3, which is solid for a center. If he was more consistently good, he would definitely be top 5 on this list, but he can just sometimes not show up in a game at all. And so he only gets the 8th spot on this list. Now number 7, I got Clint Capella, who averaged 15 points per game along with 14 rebounds, which led the NBA. He scored the ball with 59% field goal percentage, which is pretty good. The Hawks were way better this last season than I would have thought, and he's one of the biggest parts of that. So Clint Capella is the 7th spot on this list. Now number 6, I got Nikola Vucevic. Vuce this season averaged 23 points per game and 11 rebounds on 47% from the field, which isn't great for a center, but isn't too terrible. Offensively, he's one of the best centers out there, and you can see that in his scoring numbers. While defensively he does have some issues, he's still a great player, and hopefully he can make the playoffs next year, but he gets the 6th spot on this list. Now number 5, I have a player that I'm personally a pretty big fan of, and that's Bam Adebayo. Bam this season averaged 18 points per game, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists, which is good for a center, on 57% from the field, which is again pretty solid. He's a great versatile defender, and versatile on offense. He's one of the best playmaking bigs out there. He's quick and athletic, and is still pretty young and has a lot of room to grow, and he gets the 5th spot on this list. Now number 4, I got Rudy Gobert, the Defensive Player of the Year, averaging 14 points per game and 13.5 rebounds along with 2.5 blocks per game, which is 2nd in the NBA. There's no denying Rudy's greatness. He is limited on offense, with pretty much only scoring through dunks at the basket, but that doesn't take away from his defensive dominance. Defensively, he is the best center in the NBA right now, and I can say that with confidence. Teams have to change their offensive game plan when they're playing the Jazz, or they'll get punished severely. With his defensive prowess and his offensive skill set, he gets the 4th spot on this list. Now number 3, I have KarlAnthony Towns. He's not as good as he used to be, but he still deserves a spot. Averaging about 25 points per game and 10.5 rebounds on 48% field goal and 38% from 3, his limits come on the defensive end, where effort is a big issue for him. If he was great defensively, he could be much higher on this list, but the 2 guys ahead of him are also pretty far ahead of him. And that starts with number 2, Joel Embiid. Embiid this season averaged 28.5 points per game, which is the highest of any center this season, along with 10.5 rebounds on 51% from the field. If he didn't get injured this season, he could have easily won the MVP. But injuries are a part of the game, and it's unfortunate that happened to him, but even with his injuries, he still had an amazing season. Offensively and defensively, he's dominant, and he definitely deserves his 2nd spot. The only reason he doesn't have the 1st spot is because the guy ahead of him is that good. And all of you know who that guy is, and that's Nikola Jokic. Jokic this season averaged 26 points per game, about 11 rebounds, and almost 8.5 assists per game, which is number 1 of all centers and number 6 in the league as a whole. Everybody knows he's the best playmaking big man ever, and I think he gets not enough credit for his defensive ability. I wouldn't say he's a good defender, but he does put in effort, and if you watch the games, you can tell he's gotten better over the years. There's not that much I need to say for why Jokic deserves this spot. You really just need to look at the numbers and watch him play. He was MVP of the season for good reason, and so he should get the number 1 spot on this list. But that's just my list. Do you guys think it was good, or is it completely crazy? Let me know in the comments. As always, if you like this video, leave a like. If you like this kind of content, consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.